Hey everybody, welcome to another She-Hulk review with myself and the boss. It's going to be an interesting one this time around. Again, we haven't talked about the episode whatsoever. There will be unique opportunities to ask questions between the two of us that haven't existed to this point, just like the first one. And it looks like we'll be getting through the third one. And after that, well, we're going to make a decision because I'm not sure we're going to continue. So with that, here we go. And as I said, here she is, the boss. And, well, it's another week. How did you feel about your viewing of She-Hulk? Was it a good time?
Sure.
Okay.
I did watch it twice again, just to be sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to decide what they're trying to do with this thing.
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out as well. But let's not dive into the end. Where we give our reviews and our star ratings, right? Let's actually talk about the episode overall. So, an interesting opportunity at the beginning of this episode shows up, and the attorney that is looking for a job has been offered a job and to work at a somewhat prestigious law firm. The law firm that essentially got her fired. I mean, not actually, but they're the ones that got the case that she was working on in the DA's office dismissed. I don't know. It was like HKL&M or something. LMK.
Something like that.
Yeah, anyway, I think it's Mr. H or Mr. Holloway. So I think that's the last initial in the law firm, right? There are three partners in the primary.
I thought it was interesting how she gets fired.
It was
because it's too much publicity, which how can that be bad?
Yeah, well, again, she loses her job at the end of the last episode, so we're starting fresh with the new episode.
No, it was at the beginning of this one.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, they seem to like drift into each other, but I'll take your word for it. All I know is that she gets fired. She doesn't have a gig, and she kind of falls down the rungs of the lawyer ladder, so to speak, as she tries to get employment after employment. Nobody's going to hire her, and she has her gal pal there sitting with her partner in drinking, and paralegal, I guess, is what we come to find out. Anyway, she is basically not willing to stand in as a date to go to family dinner because Jen, who we know is She-Hulk, has actually been invited to family dinner. So that was interesting.
Yes.
So give me your impressions of the scenes leading into the complete collapse of her life.
Well, at the beginning, as I said, they let her go for whatever reason, which I didn't understand. I mean, if you've got this attorney that's famous, isn't that good?
She's a distraction. Come on.
Oh, okay.
So she went tumbling down the ladder somehow.
Yes.
Made no sense.
It made no sense to me at all, because I would think that, having a famous attorney is any would be good, but I guess they're aiming for, okay, now she has to be hired by the Holloway dude. They made the alcohol joke again, which whatever. And then it does lead into the family dinner where she goes to the family.
Now wait a minute. Now that the alcohol joke where she's like obviously completely sloshed as the Hulk, except she's not, because her body metabolizes it. Again, this is where the science falls apart when it comes to the alcohol thing. And she's, when she's supposed to be metabolizing the alcohol like right away. And, but of course, her boss, DA boss, whatever, who's, going to fire her, has her change back into her human form, and she smashes the floor because she's hammered.
Right.
So I'm like going, none of this makes sense, and it's fine. I don't really care. But moving on, the alcohol joke aside, Um, she tumbles down the ladder. And of course, again, as I mentioned, she's hanging out with her gal pal,
Hmm.
paralegal, wine drinking buddy, whatever, in her apartment after the end of all those failed attempts. Now, it's plausible that people would consider that, she would be somewhat of a distraction because of her superhero powers. I mean, that's one take, right? But do you think that would be realistic in the world?
No, I didn't. I didn't understand. I mean, she obviously, they say she lost the case because she saved these people. So is she the hero? Is she not? It just didn't make any sense to me why that she would be fired from
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
so it's a means to an end. They have their writing to the reason why they want to do it. So we'll just skip ahead that she has to be fired to be hired by this other company. You
Right.
know.
So it's
Oh,
it's the it's the circumstance. It's a plot device to you from point A to
yes.
point B of the
Yeah.
plot. Right? Okay.
You know.
All right. So
And then
yeah, she goes.
you said they go to the family,
Yeah.
and which again, which we'll talk at the end, but I don't understand exactly what they're doing with it. The writing is very simple. There's attempts at humor, but it seems forced.
Well,
Um,
I thought that Mr. Baker Lynn Baker, I forget what his last name is,
oh
but
yeah,
anyway,
Mark Lindbreaker
Mark Lynn Baker. Yeah, I
from
thought he
Princess
was
Bride.
excellent as the
Yeah,
dad, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But
he
you have the sloth cousin. You have, the comment about the apple pie. Oh, that's going to go right to your waistline. And then the uncle with the aunt. Oh, we can fix your hair that it's pretty for like you are when you're She-Hulk. It's all meant to demean her. It's that demean. Maybe it's not the right word, but she's an attorney, and all they're talking about is the physical attribute.
well, it's garbledygook, right? And of course, they're doing that because they think they're smart,
Mhm.
and they're because they're attacking the patriarchy and all these
And then the cousin that's like
expectations.
slurping food out of the
Yeah,
plate, and
right, but it's all these expectations that are set upon women. That's the smart. This is
yeah.
their smart thinking presentation that they're doing. I
Okay.
think. Do you think I'm wrong?
I I don't know. That's why I really don't understand. The writing is simple.
Yeah.
They're trying the humor. The dinner scene reminds me of, and I made you watch the movie by the One for the Money, where
Oh
it's
yeah.
meant to be farcical. It's meant to be the family is outrageous. It's funny in a way, but this wasn't funny to me. I mean, it was just dumb.
I see that.
And
I see.
that's so if that's what they're looking for, that kind of humor, then that's one thing. But the writing is just very simple. Now the dad did a good job,
Mhm.
but pulls her aside, and it wasn't quite the conversation I was expecting, but in the end it was fine. He did a good job, you know. And then we go to the scene where then she's says that they want her to meet with Abomination. Is that the right one?
Yeah, yeah. Emil Blonsky, who is AKA the Abomination. Actually, you jumped a little bit ahead.
I'm sorry.
So we went from no, it's okay. We went from family dinner to her first day at this law practice,
Oh
right?
yes, I'm sorry, I forgot
Yeah,
about
no,
that.
no, it's fine. And so she comes in. She's dressed like an attorney would be, right? She's
Mhm.
a day at work trying to make a good impression on everybody. So she's dressed nicely. She arrives there. She goes upstairs, in the elevator, and the main partner of the law firm, the primary, meets her, Mr. Holloway, and kind of starts to walk her through what the job's going to be because they're starting a superhero division to deal with a lot of, extraordinary humans that are all of a sudden popping into the scene, and of course their legal troubles. She comes to find out during the course of this conversation that he expects her to show up for work as She-Hulk, and remain that way through all court proceedings, et cetera, as this superhero that she's perceived to be. So, there was a fourth wall break during this whole process, and I thought it was kind of clumsy, but I'm curious what you think about that scene.
The whole scene was clumsy, but she's just like you said, she shows up thinking, now they want me as an attorney, and that's basically what she says, and now they want me as the sideshow attorney.
Right.
And then she makes the agnostic and then turns and says, I think I'm going to regret that the rest of the year.
Yeah, she's gonna try and figure out what she said. and I thought it was kind of a cute thing that the end joke there actually almost landed, but the interim joke, right, about people not having to deal with the same kind of issues that she did, and people wondering how she got the job and all this other stuff.
Yes. They're going to think I got it just because I'm She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true.
But this is the problem, right? It's like they don't understand that they're actually acknowledging, tokenism, right?
Yes.
And I think that, they're trying to play it one way, but it's not playing that way with the audience, right? I mean, the audience can see this is, if this is what she was brought in for, and she was brought in because of these characteristics and not necessarily because of her merit. She wants to believe that she's brought in because of her merit. So in my opinion, she has the one with the insecurity. She's the one wrapped up in the idea that the only reason she's there is because she's a superhero. I think that her only option might have been this, but I don't think that's the only reason she's there. Because if she was an attorney, which takes her, education and a certain set of skills, especially to be a good one, she wouldn't have the job either.
No, that's correct.
I mean, she'd be like, what, a vet tech or something, or or
work at Walmart.
Well, she'd be a teacher, or a cashier, or there's a lot of great professions she could be, but she possesses the skills of the attorney. So
exactly.
So all right, so we got to that point, and up to that point, where were you landing on the show? Because with the joke just hit, she got it. She just entered her office, and
I was really just, okay, where is this going?
Yeah, and I think I think it was a weird thing, right? And of course,
well, you could kind of tell by the way the actor Holloway that there was more to it.
Yeah.
Just by the look on his face, and he did a good job on that. You could tell there was more to this offer than just we want you because you're a good attorney.
I feel like, and I think that probably he solicited her opinion on whether or not, that would be a good idea to maintain a separate practice for super, crime, heroes versus, and that's probably the question that was asked. But she was too focused in on the things around her and her what she believed other people would perceive her as, including the room full of, of course, elderly white guys, which wasn't lost on me, right? First of all,
you notice more stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's not how a law room. I mean, that's not how a boardroom at a law firm looks. So I'm like going, this is unrealistic.
That's
right?
the good old boys.
Yeah,
these writers.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, well.
So, okay. So moving on, we're going to move down that. So obviously, she's brought in to take this. Her first case is going to be Emil Blonsky, right? Now, she's not quite sure, how that's going to land, not just for her, because obviously there's, in her mind, a conflict of interest. And Mr. Blonsky has obviously signed off, against the conflict, saying, I understand that, but, I'm reformed and I deserve parole, and yada, yada. Right. And so she struggles with this and then eventually ends up having to call her cousin, Bruce, right? The Hulk, to find out where he's at with it.
Well, that's after she met with him, correct? If I remember correct. She goes to the prison, meets with him.
Yeah.
And
no, you're right. I skipped ahead to this. I know before it was you, that was me. You're right.
So, she goes and they make her transform back to human, and then he's in the thing and he's talking about it. I like the actor. I like that he was in Lie to Me.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a great actor.
I liked him in Lie to Me, but he talks about this. There's two things. One, she's an attorney, but she doesn't ask many questions. When she's why, I want to hire you. There was no questions. When it Lie to Me, whatever his name is, Abomination, Emil
Blonsky.
Yes. Yeah. When Emil starts talking, he starts talking about the haikus, and then he wants to go live somewhere with his 7 soulmates. And at no point, twice. Right? And at no point does she go, what does that mean? What do you mean? What does that mean? Who are these people?
So my thoughts are that perhaps, you know how it is. There's a perception where, men in prison, charismatic men in prison attract women to them, and he's going to.
But as the attorney that's going to try to get him out, or she's wanting to be hired, why would you not ask, who are these people? What does that mean? Again, it's like they only write for that little tiny, like you said, the little 8-second. Okay, we want you to do this so that we can move on to this. We can move on to this. And
well, I mean, it is notorious for Marvel that there's like 11 seconds or less in each shot, or in each,
okay,
and sometimes scenes are that long, right? I mean, it's like da 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 da. It's like really like, rapid fire stuff, but that's
okay.
fine. I mean, and it's again, acting here was not a problem. I didn't have any problem with the acting in that scene. And again, as you mentioned, there were probably questions that would have been asked by an attorney, but the writers have already told us, and you probably don't know this because you don't pay attention to the stuff that I do. But the showrunner had already mentioned that they really didn't know how to go about making a lawyer show.
Well, that makes sense, because with the lawyers and the attorneys I've ever known in my life, they ask a lot more questions.
Oh yeah, you get pounded, right? And of course, in this situation, this is a pro bono situation, so she's not pushed for time because she's not worried about billing hours, and she's hired regardless. Essentially, if she doesn't take the job, if she doesn't take the case, she doesn't have a job, so she's compelled to take this job. So obviously, in my opinion, at the end of this scene, she is compelled to help Mr. Blonsky. Right?
Yes. Especially then you said she goes back, she calls Bruce. He says that, hey, I've made my peace with him. We're all good. Yeah. And she talks over him the whole time he's trying to talk until the end.
Yeah. And what I love is his perceptions. Like, it sounds like you're telling me you're taking the job. And she says, yeah, I'm taking the job. And he goes, yeah. That's good, Jen. I'm in a completely other place now. In fact, I'm a completely other person, which I found funny, and you didn't, probably because you didn't know that character of that version of Hulk was played by a different
Edward Norton.
Yeah, Norton, exactly. Yeah,
I did not see that movie, so I didn't. That joke went over my head. But this is all new to me. So
yeah, at least that's what I it is what it is, right? And Ed Norton lost that job more than he. More than he gave it away, but that's a whole other story.
That's all, yeah.
But so there we are, right, with all of that, and there were lots of little Easter egg jokes that were in there, and that really didn't matter at all. But so what did you think of that? Aside from Jen presenting all of this information and talking over Bruce, how did that land for you? Are you comfortable with?
Well, like you said, she was kind of up against a wall, and she felt that way. And okay, I'm going to take this,
right?
Because I have to. This is the only place I'm going to be able to make money. With that in her mind, and I get that. Right. So in the end, she does, and then as the ending happens. So
did you notice that somehow Bruce had amazing cell strength from Spaceship?
And then he's just gone. Yes,
she's like, well, conversation over.
And
it's fine.
I watched the first time I watched it. I liked it better than the first one,
right? And
I think part of that was because at least I felt like she was having obstacles to overcome. Everything wasn't just peachy. She didn't just win everything in the first episode. She just got this. There were more obstacles.
All right, I think that's going to be a recurring theme, because the real world is different than maybe the things that were thrown in front of her by her training montage, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
I think but they're lucky that I agreed to watch this with you, because I wouldn't watch the second one after the first one. I really didn't like the first episode.
So. I know, and this is where Marvel's losing people, because this show's also underperforming. But that's, again, not something you pay attention to. That's
I have purposely not paid attention. I didn't watch anybody else's reviews until we did this.
Oh, I'm saying, but there's no way you would know that the numbers are as bad as they are.
Oh, well, they hide it.
It's only, yeah, of course they do. You know that. But anyway, so, gosh. All right, so we move on from there. She's going to take the job. So she picks up the phone, calls back Mr. Holloway, right? Mm-hmm. And says, I'm going to take the job. I've got a winning strategy, yada, yada. And he says, well, that's great and wonderful. You might want to turn on the news, and hangs up.
Yep.
And she turns on the news, and there is leaked video of Abomination in a fighting pit in a controlled environment that apparently escaped from prison. Well, there's a lot of nuance in that because that is actually from a scene. Abomination is fighting, I want to say Wong from Doctor Strange, right? In that fighting pit, right? And of course Wong wins, but so like Wong brings him in and then sends him back to his prison. Like apparently this is something that happens from time to time for this underground fight club. And that's all from Shang-Chi and the bracelets of, magical goodness.
Okie-dokie.
Yeah, so that's a scene you wouldn't have been conversant in,
No.
but that's what the scene that they showed on the news.
Okay.
That was behind the reporter there. So, and her response, I thought this was the best joke, right? And that's a struggle for me to say, but he's like, "Well, that sucks."
That was funny.
Yeah,
that's a real, well, that sucks.
Yeah, and that kind of lands with like some of the other snooty shows that these snooty funny lawyer shows that we would remember because we're looking back at Ally McBeal and shows like that, right? Boston Legal and that kind of joke, right? So so that's that quirky smirky lawyer joke was right there. Well, that sucks. Okay, so what did you think of that ending part?
I guess it was going to happen. It was kind of predictable. She was being set up for that. I mean, it was obvious. He's talking about his 7 soulmates. There's obviously he has something he wants to do.
Yeah.
That did not surprise me at all.
Okay. Well, and it also it's again, this is very formulaic would be the terminology.
Okay.
But okay, so were you happy or sad that it was only 20 minutes long?
I'm very happy.
Okay.
Well, there's not much more to it.
Right.
There's
not a lot there, right? There.
Compared with some of the other shows that you watch or I watch, there's just not much more there. It's a very simple show.
So overall, because I want to wrap this up in a timely fashion, so it's not quite as long as the first one. How did you feel about the show? And then give me your 5-star, your rating. That's
the humor, the simplicity. If that's what they're going for, then they are meeting their goal. It is a very simple, simply written, and it has a little bits of uncomfortable humor, a little bits of stuff that's like, oh yeah, that's kind of cute. If that's what they're going for, they are nailing it. But if it's supposed to be a real serious or deep show, it's not. So if you take yourself out of it, and like I said, at least this one, she had some obstacles in her way. It wasn't all perfect. Her family's obviously a mess, part of the humor. So if that's, then great. If that's what you're going for, then great. You get, 3 out of 5. For me, I liked it better than the last one.
Right.
But it's not for me.
Okay. And that leads me to the next question before I give my breakdown and my stars. My next question is, who's this for? If you were going to guess who the target audience was for this show, who's it for?
It's for 20 to 30-year-old, not normie people who only want to watch a snippet and move on. It's not for me. There's no depth to it. It's not for anybody like you who knows all the backstories, although there's a lot of Easter eggs. So they're putting stuff in there, like you say. I'm not catching them because I didn't see all of these, but it's not going to capture that person. It's for a more simple, just somebody that wants to watch and laugh and go on.
Can I say something? I've never mentioned this before anywhere, and I've thought this for a very long time. They actually go out later, and you probably also don't know this, but they basically are trying to train a new audience by telling them what all the Easter eggs are in a show and what they mean. Because none of these people have consumed this material before. So they have to go back and explain the Easter eggs. Like there is a certain percentage of the audience that didn't see Shang-Chi and the 10 bracelets of Dancing Doom or whatever, Rainbow,
No.
whatever. So they have to go back and kind of, later on, you have to go do homework to figure out what was that? What does this mean? Or, and then, or, obviously if you're paying attention to the show, they're going to start to throw all that stuff in there, and it's a shame, right? Because they don't have an audience that I think that they're targeting specifically. I think it's a scattershot approach.
Okay.
And they are actually having to train people who aren't even normies. These are people who are tangentially interested in these programs to, appreciate the nuances that are put in there. And they have to put the nuances in there or else they'll get called out, by people like me. And they're trying to make these people feel like they're in the know. So that's why you're getting all these Easter eggs. And then the Easter egg training courses from places like Screen Rant and Deadline and Variety. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So your star rating, so we can.
For me,
yeah.
For me personally, we like a 2-star. It was better than the first one. It's still just it's too simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But like I said, if that's their goal and their audience, then they nailed it.
And I can say this, right? First of all, I'm with you. Still don't know who the audience is for. Like I said, it's very scattershot in my opinion, and I think that there's only about maybe 10% of the audience that tunes into Disney Plus that might have any interest or inkling as to what this show is, or even the desire to want to watch it. So it's really not a broad appeal, despite the fact that She-Hulk's a favorite character, amongst people like myself who are a little more involved in comics and the comic history and all that other stuff. In fact, the MCU as a whole, I would say I'm way more invested than most people, or I used to be. Yeah, because after Endgame, I think I just decided I was done. A lot of people did. Yeah,
I mean, you can look at the, maybe it's meant for the female centric and the younger women. This is what you can do. I don't know.
I thought it was targeted at wine moms to begin with in the first episode because it was so hateful towards, the male gland.
That may be.
It is what it is, right? And it was completely and there's a whole lot of deprecation in different places that shouldn't exist. But I'm going to set all that aside and say I don't know who this show's for.
No, I actually wrote that down. Who is this show for? I wrote that down. That was one of my notes.
I know you took notes. And then so overall, I mean, like I said, some of the jokes landed this time, which I thought was interesting. I don't have any bile or hatred towards the show. I've seen a lot of hyperbolic reactions to the show, and I can't get there. I can't find it within me to gin that up.
I don't care enough to hate it.
It's misandrous. I mean,
they have the same idiot from her old office that walks in that bar in the first scene where he says, "I'm going to go hit on it." Not her, it.
Yeah, he's kind of a gross person, but in like gross people, yeah, exactly. Gross people exist. So getting to my star rating, right? I'm gonna rank this. By the way, our review's longer than the show is, so F that. But F's in the chat for that, folks. I'm gonna give this 2.5 stars because again, it was better than the last time. And I've seen far worse. You've never seen like terrible things, I don't think, or at least not that you know of. And so I'm still giving it slightly more than you. This is the second review in a row where I'm giving it a higher score. Kind of worried now. I don't know.
I'm a harsh critic.
But you are.
You watch way more than I do because I'm very, very picky.
Well, maybe I've just been beaten down so much that this just doesn't seem as bad as so many other things. I don't know. Maybe I have a battered spouse syndrome, not by you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. But anyway. Well, I had a good time doing this. I hope you did too, and I hope the audience enjoys watching it. I think I can suffer one more episode at least.
Yeah.
We'll see how we decide to do after that. So do be back next week when we release our second She-Hulk review, or excuse me, third. This one gets released, we might be able to do a third. Anyway, you guys get the point. But with that being said, I just want to say thanks for being here, of course, the boss. And thanks for all of you out there being here. Be sure to take care of yourself, of course. Take care of others. Wash your hands because it's good hygiene. And until next time,
Bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.